Valentine's Day is going to be within a couple days from now. I was recording this, and honestly, I'm glad I'm single, and you should be glad if you're single too. I mean, the big idea of why people make a big deal about being in a relationship is because they want to feel that sensation of being with somebody, to hold and to touch and to, tell someone else how you feel. But think about it, those are the small moments of the many other moments you would have to make up for that. Say, for example, like it's not about just those little moments, it's everything that goes into a day. Like you're going to have your ups, you're going to have your downs and stuff like that. And you're going to have moments where, you're going to question why you're in a relationship. You ever notice that people that are in a relationship will tell you just to stay single? Why do you think that is? Just really think about it. Why do you think that is? Because they probably have the same idea as you. They probably thought like, hey, like I'm lonely, I'm single, I'm looking out for someone to mingle with and, to share my feelings and do all kinds of stuff. Just really find another connection. But then once they realize that it's more to it than what it actually is, then they want to kind of not be as too assertive with the idea of like, okay, maybe being in a relationship isn't a good idea and it's like something that's overhyped. And yes, it is. It's one of those things where I was in a really toxic relationship myself, and uh, you know, unfortunately, like it's one of those stories that I didn't get cheated on or done too wrong, but it was just like all my efforts to really do the best I can and being a provider in my best way in the area of my life where was minimized within this person, and just that the meanings it's a very diminishing return in investments of like you putting your all in something and someone and they're not appreciating it, of course, and and you putting them as a whole. um you put them as a whole number one thing on your spot. Like say for example, how like they say like, oh, you're supposed to work on your purpose and do this and do that. But when you put that girl on the pedestal above your purpose, above everything else, they will tend to lose respect towards you. And if you go into a relationship wanting to just spend time with them and wanting to just be with them all the time and not really focus on your purpose, it's like slowly but surely they will lose that attraction. And then, especially if you were the guy that goes to the gym all the time or the one that was hyped into, doing their business and going like just going hard in the gym and just going hard in everything else in life. And you just suddenly stop because she just came into your life, and of course you wouldn't mind it, but it's just like damn, like you start losing who you are and you're getting comfortable. And then that's exactly what's going to happen. Like you're going to go in a relationship wanting to just cuddle and have your feelings out with that person, but then you start losing who you are as a person, start getting soft, you start getting weak, basically like Gohan from the Buu saga, where after Goku passed 6 years later, he stopped, Gohan stopped training, and when something did pop off, he was too weak to handle the situation, and everyone was looking at him like, whoa, you were once strong. Why can't you handle it now?" And but when you have those dogs that like Vegeta and Goku, even Goku was on the other side, still training. Vegeta was still training. They're still going hard, even though Vegeta was with a relationship. He didn't stop going crazy at all. He kept training. He kept going. He kept doing him, and that's what made him as powerful as he needed to be when the situation came through. And that's what happens when you put the girl first and then you purpose second. That's something you definitely don't want to do. I'll tell you this, like, I'll tell you this. This is one of those things where when I first got into a relationship, I was thinking like, yeah, like me and this person, I'm glad I'm with somebody. I'm happy. She's my peace. She's my everything. And you put that person on this extreme pedestal when you just want to go in a relationship because you feel lonely. And when you do that, you end up putting so much emphasis on that person to change how you feel on the inside, that when something happens, because that person is their own human being, they have their own choices and everything, they're going to want to go do their own thing. And then when they do their own thing, you're going to feel 10 times worse because it's like, damn, like, I put my all into this person, but they're not understanding me. They're not respecting how I feel. And it's like, you can't do that. It's just not realistic. You can't put those high expectations thinking that you're going to get the same outcome. They're always going to be understanding, communicative, and respectful and stuff like that. Unless you built yourself up to that level where you're going to put your purpose first and do everything else second, where it's just second nature. There's some guys that out there that just don't care about women and stuff like that, and they end up getting girls and stuff because they don't really catch feelings like that. But I'll be honest, I'm one of those guys that, like, of course I'll be wanting to build something with a woman and stuff like that. I want to have a future and all that stuff. Like, I'm pretty sure all guys want to have a future, with their women and stuff, and have a family, settle down and stuff like that. But then when you're not at that level yet where you can put your purpose and everything first and build yourself up first and not settle for whatever comes your way, um, you know, bad things are going to happen when you settle for anything that comes your way. And that's what happened to me, where I was focused on what I was doing, and then I start talking to a girl and stuff like that, and then I started losing my drive and everything. Everything else just followed down with it. Obviously, the girl wasn't on the same page as me. Like, she didn't like working out. She didn't really have anything going for herself, and she didn't really care for that much. And I just put up with it because of this less of an abundance mindset. And of course, I could have ended it at any time, but, like, that fear of being alone, I think that's like one of the biggest things that kind of kept me going into that relationship. Obviously, there's red flags. We all see red flags within someone we're talking to. Like, they're not being respectful of your time. They're not listening to you, or they're not really, you're giving them these type of ideas of who you are as a person, what you stand for, but they're not going for it. They're always combating against that. And when they combat against that and you're still there, hey, guess what, dummy? That's like ensuring to them that they're going to keep doing the same thing over and over again until something gets bad. And I'm telling you, trust me, the girl you're talking to, whatever, you're trying to make it work out, everything could be fine until it's not. And then when it's not, it's a big old mess. And you're trying to figure out, like, what happened? But if you actually pay attention, there's like little clues. I don't know, like watching movies, like watching Marvel movies and stuff like that, or any type of movie out there. I say Marvel. You know how, like, they have clues and stuff like that within the films, kind of indicating what's going to happen in the future, like the Infinity War saga. When they build up towards Iron Man and towards like the end credit scene where they show something that's going to reveal towards the next movie and the next installment. It's like the same thing when you're talking to somebody, where they show little things, but then it's constantly building up to something greater. And then when something big pops off, that's when it's like Infinity War. That's the end game part. So I'm a big Marvel fan, by the way. But yeah, it's just, yeah, it's one of those things where you got to pay attention to that stuff and always be in that abundance mindset. And despite you not having options, you're not really talking to a whole lot of girls and stuff like that, you still gotta have that abundance mindset, because trust me, you could. That's the thing that sucks about like not having options, especially for guys and stuff like that. When they find that one girl they're talking to, and then they end up playing games and not taking them seriously. Guys will be willing to put up with it. I would put up with the crap that was given to me, talking to that one girl, and it's just like, man, like, I could leave at any moment. Obviously she's not respecting my time. She has nothing. It's like she isn't really taking her lifestyle serious, and she's not doing anything she can to change it herself. And even though I'm doing everything, I can't carry the boat. It has to be 50-50, or 100-100. One person giving 100%, the other person giving 100%, and they both add into each other. But it's all these things. Just simplify them to a very, very common denominator. If she's not rocking with you, that's it. It's just not all this goofy stuff and trying to figure things out. I think people overcomplicate things. It's just like, if they would, they could. Basically I just go from that. And so, yeah, just being single and just kind of just going from where I'm at right now. I'm just glad I'm at my peace, and you should be glad that you're at your peace too, because you get time to focus on what you can control and build yourself up, because you don't want to get into a relationship with someone that doesn't appreciate you as a person. Just think about it. I was in a relationship where I had to change who I was as a person just to fit their standards. And that sucked. It felt like a job. I'm telling you this. When you get with the wrong person because you're afraid of being alone, you're going to be set up in an area where you're not going to feel comfortable. You're not going to feel good about yourself, but because you don't have that mindset of, okay, like, I can just be by myself and be at my own peace and I'll be okay. But instead, you stay with this person just hoping for them to accept you for who you are, knowing that they won't. And, as time goes on, you start losing a piece of yourself. And, eventually things will get bad to where you lose your whole, like, a good chunk of your identity, and you will find yourself being like, man, like, why am I with this person? What am I doing? And you just question everything. And when it gets to that point, it takes a lot of time to recover. So instead of getting to that point, be the bigger person and just saying, hey, I don't think this is working out, let me leave. And of course you can give a person chances and stuff like that, but since not being in that abundance mindset and being afraid of being alone, I think that that's one of the biggest things that certain guys are afraid of. And I've accepted it myself that, hey, it's just things were meant for me to be. Like, I wasn't meant to be this guy that was out here getting all the girls and doing all that stuff. And I can try, but it's just not natural for me to do that, because it feels like I'm forcing myself to be something that I'm not when I see other people that are naturally into that stuff. And that's something that I had to accept, even though, like, yeah, I've done the looks maxing and all that stuff, but it's just one of those things where I have to really be honest with myself that, going long term, like, do I want to be something that I'm not and have to continue on with that for a long time? Like, think about it. Like, even if you end up finding somebody, you have to keep up that image for a long period of time. And that's one of the worst things you would have to do, because it's just this unnecessary pressure that you have to depend on yourself to do. And trust me, you're going to have moments where you're going to crack and you're going to show your true self. And then when you show your true self, they're going to look at you like somebody else. And I wouldn't recommend that at all. But I don't want this video being on too long. But basically, if you're single, just be glad you're single. Focus on yourself and do as much as you can just to build your own kingdom and doing all kinds of stuff. And if you're in your early 20s and stuff like that, just be glad, like, you're not making any accidents, getting anybody pregnant and stuff like that. Because if you get somebody, I had a pregnancy scare myself. If you get someone pregnant, it's GG's, bro. If you're in your early 20s or 20s or whatever, trying to build something, good luck. Unless that person is down for you, down for earth, and you got your lifestyle set up, and you guys are on the same page, you're good. I mean, you got a chance, but I would not recommend that. Don't bring a kid into this world if you ain't even not ready. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Celebrate your Valentine's, loving yourself and cherishing. Celebrate with your mom or your dad or your family. Do that. Give your mom some flowers. Give your dad some flowers, something. But thank you guys for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe, and peace.